Hello and welcome to another live webinar brought to you by Global Sources Match. I'm your host, Meghla Bhardwaj, and today our topic is sourcing from South Korea. Now, as all of you know, it's never a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket. And a lot of importers, brands, retailers nowadays are looking for alternative sourcing markets to source their products. So we've got an expert who's going to be talking to us about sourcing from South Korea. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about Global Sources Match. This is a free service offered by Global Sources in which Global Sources will help you find suppliers based on your requirements. What you need to do is send the team at Global Sources your requirements, your product specifications, the types of suppliers that you're looking for, and the team will go out and find suppliers based on your requirements. It just makes the entire sourcing process much easier and more convenient for you. So let's take a quick look at a video about Global Sources Match. Can we play the video, please?
Global Sources Match is a 100% buyer-focused, year-round, highly personalized and customized service to help international buyers identify the most relevant products and suppliers. In 2020, Global Sources Match helped more than 1,000 buyers from around the world connect with quality Asia-based suppliers through private business matching and online meetings. How does Global Sources Match work? The process starts by getting product requirements from you, including technical specifications, desired supplier type, certifications required, and export markets served. Our dedicated match team then shortlist matching products from verified Global Sources suppliers. Once you are satisfied with our recommendations, we will facilitate communications between both parties. The result is high value, high accuracy, and highly efficient business matching, making Global Sources Match the most sought-after premium service among our buyer community. 99% of buyers find suitable suppliers through Match. Let's see what our buyers say.
I think it's an awesome idea connecting the buyers and the suppliers, and I hope to be able to attend more in the future, so I get the chance to meet more suppliers from Shenzhen but also the surrounding areas.
给我们安排的一个线下配对活动，今天我们当面见了我们这边4、5个比较合适的供应商，我们也非常感兴趣，跟这几位供应商进行下一步的合作和沟通。
And many more positive comments from buyers. Thousands of successful online meetings have been held, connecting buyers and suppliers. Supercharge your sourcing. Join Global Sources Match now to source from verified suppliers that are right for your business.
The Global Sources Match is a completely free service. I would encourage all of you to take advantage of it and stick around until the end of the webinar. We are going to show you a QR code and you'll be able to go directly to the Global Sources Match webpage to find suppliers. And all you need to do is submit your requirements to the team and they will look for suppliers for you. Okay, just a quick housekeeping note here as well. So if you do have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box. You can also type in the chat box, but if you have any specific questions, type them in the Q&A box. Any other comments, you can type into the chat box. So, and we are going to be giving you recordings as well. So after the webinar finishes in a couple of days, you will receive the recording by email. Okay, so let's get started. And I am going to introduce Mr. MJ Kim. And just a second, let me just unmute him. Oh, there we go. Hi, MJ, how are you doing today?
Hi, this is MJ from Korea.
Thank you so much for joining us, MJ. Really excited about your presentation. So I'm going to share your slides and let's get started with your presentation. So we're going to be talking about sourcing from South Korea. So MJ, over to you. I've got the slides here. So I think first of all, let's just, yeah. So here's the introduction. Let's get started. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your help. And hi, this is MJ from Korea. And First of all, I just briefly introduce myself. Of course, I'm Korean. Have a good honor have chance to make speech from you guys. And first of all, my English is not that fluent, so our host will help me out today. Uh, who am I? Yes. In Korea, I have a lot of various work experiences. Like first of all, I started to work in Kotra. Kotra is government to help SME, small medium-sized companies, to promote overseas sales organization under government. So at that Kotra, I worked for procurement team for 2 or 3 years. So at the time, I just met a lot of buyers, suppliers, that kind of experiences. And after that, I worked for Global Sources for 3-4 years for salesman. And at that time also, I met a lot of buyers and suppliers. So I think I have pretty much work experiences in export and import part. So I hope today I can give you guys a good advice to sourcing from Korea. And right now I'm running my own business in Korea already for 8 years. You mainly doing retail and e-commerce, and also distributing other companies' brand in Korea. And already have like 7 or 8 own brands in Korea. So different categories, different items. Thank you. This is a brief introduction of me. And I heard that recently a lot of buyers very interested in Korea, this market. And I just briefly talk about Korea situation. And I think recently South Korea became one of the top 5 manufacturing countries in the world. And strong point, it'll be high quality manufacturing and well designed products, and have good after sales service support. That kind of parts will be good. And made in Korea, I think, just my opinion, like made in Korea become a mark of high quality products recently. I heard from some buyers. And the other side, difficulties and opportunities. I wrote down some contents, but the main reason for difficulties, like Korea recently, the labor wage is going high, pretty high comparison with China. So it affects to cost and product price. I think this is the main reason that not that buyers too hard to work with Korean companies. And the second one is, in fact, in Korea, there is no Alibaba or Global Sources, that kind of platform to introduce suppliers to buyer. So I think this 2 point is the hardest point to work with Korean companies and Korean suppliers. Okay, next. Where is Kim's email? Do I have to answer these questions?
I think we can just go over some of the main categories that are produced in Korea. Like, of all of these categories, which do you think are most important for exports? Like, for brands, for e-commerce sellers, what are the main categories?
Oh, okay. Actually, I didn't know about all the categories or all the in the industries. So I just talk briefly, can introduce you guys. And I, as my investigation, recently top export products from Korea is like Samsung, LG, like semiconductors, machinery, or motor vehicles, parts, ships, boats, and mobile and wireless devices. Of course, displays, LED, OLED, that kind of parts, and electronic products and computers. Yes, and of course, recently Korean cosmetics is very famous all over the world, and needed fabrics and glasswares, these parts. I think it depends on your industry or your parts. So this product is very brief introduction. Okay,
Right.
next please.
I think security products are pretty strong as well in Korea. So like CCTV cameras and smart home devices, are those popular as well?
Yes, still because of the cam lens is very famous in Korea. So CCTV device product also very famous. But I heard from the factories or manufacturer heard about they recently very struggling from product price. Product price is very a little bit higher than Chinese factory. So I think they are challenging part.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide then, how to start the process.
And these steps, I just write down the steps. Actually, I am running my business on my business in Korea also, and at the same time, I'm also the buyers for Korean manufacturer or factory sites. I'm also a buyer, and just briefly introduce the few steps to you guys. And I think the first step have to do research process, market research, supplier research, and product research, all these kind of things. I think same as other sourcing from other country also need these kind of things. Make sure what kind of products you nearly need to source, and what's your core needs. You have to make sure. So 4 steps. The first, and in Korea, I already talk about that, and there's no globalsources.com, Alibaba.com, these kind of things. So have to find one by one, and like there's 4 ways to find out the suppliers and or the manufacturers, I think. maybe more, but I think just pop in my head just only 4 ways. The first of all, use Kotra, their line. Kotra means Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. It's under government program, and they have like 52 to 54 branch offices in all over the world. And they have local staffs, and they also, so they can speak your language. Have to find if you reach them and talk to them, like need research or need to find the suppliers, and maybe you can get the list of the Korean suppliers list. And if you know about the specific company name, you can ask them to reach the in charge of the person who are in charge of the overseas salesperson's contact point. So I think the first way to reach Korean suppliers is contact Kotra. Maybe you can Google it in search engines, Kotra, and whether your local have their branch office or not. And
So does Kotra cover all types of product categories, or are there certain categories that are there?
they are under government, so they basically know all about the companies. They have records, list of the companies, but I'm not sure it's up to date list. Maybe small size companies, they're not that stable, but it can cover all the industries, and big companies or professional manufacturer list, they can check.
Right. And do they have a website where we can go and search for suppliers, or do they give a supplier list?
Actually, they have their own platform. They already developed the platform, the website, buykorea.com. But yesterday, before I checked the materials and I checked the up-to-date situation, I'm not sure it's recent data. I think they recently didn't do up-to-date deal. So I think it's better to call them or reach them by email, or reach them, contact their branch office is better. Because I already told you, like, they have local staff in their branch offices, and you then you can solve the language barriers. So I recommend, first of all, reach them, contact them first, branch offices, and they will let you know how to search for the Korean companies or Korean suppliers. Like this.
And do most suppliers understand export requirements? And do they, do we need to check with them if they have export licenses, or do most companies understand how to export products?
I think it's same as other countries. Like some of them, they already doing a lot of big business in export parts. So in this case, they already might have this kind of staff in their overseas salesperson. In this way, in this situation, they can speak English, or big company, they also can speak Chinese, also can other languages. But if your suppliers, they didn't do export before, then maybe they didn't be ready to export. So in this case, might be they don't have salesperson who can speak English or other languages. And in this case, also Coursera also have this kind. I heard about that. I searched in Coursera also offer this kind of services. They offering all this kind of service to Korean suppliers, because Coursera help to Korean SME to export to overall. So they will help to arrange a person to Korean suppliers can help their language barriers. Yes. And the second way is to find the suppliers is, I think you guys already know about this, search engines. Google is very good. And or your local search engine. I don't know which is very famous in your country. Korea also have our own search engines like Naver and Daum, also using Google, but the Naver is the most biggest one. But if you want to use Naver, then you have to type Korean. So possibility is very, I'm not sure. So I think recommend first use Google. Anyway, big companies already doing advertisements in Google website. They're also doing ad, so you can find out the information from the Google. And yesterday I checked how to source from Korea, and the research not that much, but still have some research in Google, but have no suppliers information, but they can give you advice to source from Korea. And the third one is globalsources.com. And I checked also in globalsources.com, make the country vertical. You change the countries and check the Korean, and the research results, like 45 to 50 companies already registered in globalsources.com. So if you're interested in, and you can check.
Yeah, so just a quick note on global sources. After you do a product search, then on the left-hand side, you'll find filters, and you go into look for the country location filter and then select South Korea. You'll be able to find suppliers there. There are lots of suppliers on global sources that are doing electronics products, like high quality, security products, and a lot of high quality electronics. And then there's also textiles. A lot of, I find like functional textiles are really good from Korea. And then there's also, I think socks, right, MJ? I think there are a lot of suppliers that do socks from Korea. That's pretty good.
Hardware sector.
Yeah.
Car mount, bearing, that kind of things also have.
Yeah, exactly. But for the consumer products, for consumer products like on global sources, I think there are a lot of Functional fabrics I've seen. Then socks is also a really good category on Global Sources. There are quite a few suppliers from South Korea. They're doing, high quality functional socks that are for specific purposes. So yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, finding local trade agencies.
Yes. Also, I just yesterday just found out the way. When I googling, I found out some trade agencies. They are professionally doing trade agents, that kind of business, like all over the world. They have branch offices in Korea, and they already have a connection with a lot of factories and suppliers. This kind of trade agency is very, you can check the result, a lot of result in the Google. And I don't know, in this case, core checkpoint is reliable agencies. You have to find out the reliable trade agencies, but you through have meeting with them, maybe you will have understand a lot of things to work with Korean companies, or you may because they already know about Korean companies and contacted a lot of experiences, so they will give you advices more specific, your industry's specific information to you. So
okay. So MJ, we have a question over here. First of all, someone is saying Kotra is the best organized government trained department in the world. So it's a really good.
They
That's
have a
pretty
lot
good
of
to
branch
hear.
offices in all over the world.
Awesome. Okay, so here's the question from Ben Sia. I saw a supplier business type as distributor in buykorea.org. Is it likely not a factory? And is the price also marked up in this case? So what does it mean, distributor?
Buy Korea is not kind of Alibaba. It's kind of, you can see the ORG, but Buy Korea, I think buykorea.com, ORG? I'm confused. Anyway.
Yeah, Sia, can you confirm, is that ORG or .com? Is this the Kotra? This is not the Kotra marketplace.
By Kotra. Also, like, they are the government made this platform. But
okay, he says it's ORG.
There's no price marked in the website. They just only introduce this kind of factory main product image. You can check the image for their main products and factory name. That's all. So
yeah. And so if the business type is distributor, what does that mean? Does that mean that it is not a manufacturer? Distributor.
Yes, they are just help to factory or suppliers, manufacturer to sell to overseas market.
Okay, so they are not a factory themselves.
Like trade agencies.
Okay, got it. So they're not factories, they are trade agencies or trading companies.
Yes.
And
sometimes they doing distributing their own brands. So not sure of it's not 100%.
Okay. Yeah, there can be so many things, but they are likely not to be factories, right? Most probably they're not factories. Okay. Okay, got it. So let's move on to the next slide. So we're talking about after we found the suppliers, then we go to contact them. So let's go over these steps, MJ.
Yes. This step, usually I also import things from China and Chinese. I work with Chinese factories. So when I doing this import things, I usually using this steps, this process doing on my business. So first of all, when I want to source one product, and first of all, I doing research, make a list for the factories who are produce this kind of products, and I made a list for my own, and contact them one by one, and then I just mark them. Oh, this factory. What is the good point of this factory or bad point? And then after that, sorting from this list. And luckily, I can speak Chinese, Mandarin, and English, so I have no issue from the language. I have no barriers. Can communicate, but I'm not sure you guys can. Korean suppliers, factories usually cannot speak English very well. Have no staff for the overseas sales. So as I mentioned, you can, in this case, you can reach the FOTRA or trade agencies help to translation. This kind of service you can use. And the third one, understand the market issue and situation. Yeah, sometimes like recently, globally, I know about the globally occurred supply chain problems, like some products, some parts, like semiconductor also lack of all over the world, lack of semiconductor right now. So this I mentioned the market issue and situation means this kind of issue, like for example, recently in China, Chinese factories government restricted the electricity. This kind of market issue, you have to know about this kind of situation. Then probably you can make a plan to import things. So when you source from other countries, you can check these kind of things first. And the next, understand factories, products, and skills. Yes, specific. If you want to source specific products and have a lot of factories in Korea, and you can compare with the other factories. Like this factory quality is very good, but price is too high. This factory quality is not that good. Comparison with this company, but price is too low. And then in this case, it's up to you. You have to make a choice. I think these parts, step 2, I think the audience for the webinar is, I think they are already professional for the sourcing items from other countries. So they all already know about this. So I'm not that worried about this point. So we can move on the next page. Thank you. Yes, I think this part is pretty important things because terms of price and QC after sales issues and brand licenses, well, these kind of things or legal issues have to check very well before you pick up some products. Sometimes the some items, if you want to import from other countries, you need the certification for the import before you import the things. So it's totally different by countries. So when you source from other countries items, you have to find out this item need certification or not. And the second one is terms of price. When I source from other countries, I'm not sure or I'm not that well know about the local logistic problems. So in this case, I use the CIF conditions for the sourcing items. So it depends on your knowledge, know about this market. Of course, FOB is cheaper than CIF conditions. So if you have strongly reliable logistics partner, then you can just ask them FOB price. And if it's not, you just know let them give you the CIF price. I mean, these kind of things depends on your needs and factory situation. Some factories don't know how to export. So in this case, use your strong, reliable logistics companies, partners. And the second one, QC, quality controls, is, I think, is the most important things from sourcing items. In my case, I hired someone in China and use her. She helped me check the qualities or before export. So usually Korean suppliers do quality check instead of you, but I don't know about the small factories situation. Maybe they don't have QC staff, or their QC level is low. Is different your standard. So below, strongly recommend to make contracts and prepare for the legal issue. I write down this title. Means you have to QC this part. You have to write down a very specific contents, like have to give me more 1 month for the period to check the product quality. After the items is arrived in your local market, this kind of content you can also make. So anyway, quality control is very important, I think. And then after sales issue, it is same thing. Defective products, how they're you have to discuss before you sourcing items from other countries. Also important things. Recently in Korea have very strong legal issues, like brand issues. Korea is very well managed countries in the world for the brands. If your factory already registered brand or design, and you have to check it first. You have to ask them the papers to give it this right to make you sales on your in your local market. You have to ask for them the brand rights. So in conclusion, strongly recommended to make contract and prepare for the legal issues. in Korea is legal issue is very important. They are, I think, this is a different situation from China. So you have to check it very well.
What do
Certification.
you mean by what do you mean by legal issues?
Oh,
Can you
brand
explain
rights
that?
and brand rights and certification. Like Korea have KC certification, Korean standard certified certification. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, all over the world they all have own their certifications for the big for the product. Usually fabrics for the baby or food, medical, and electronics. These kind of things need certification for export, import also needed. So you have to check well. This is all below the legal issues. You have to pay a lot of money for that.
Okay, understand. And then you said that we can actually write in the contract that we will check the quality of the products up to 1 month after they have been delivered in the importing country. So like how does that work? And can we build it into the contract that there'll be some penalties for the supplier in case there are quality issues after the product has reached the importing country?
Oh, so it's just by examples. It also depends on the products. Like sensitive products, they don't know. Just check the outside. Have to open it or have to check it after then you know about the defective or not. So these kind of things only can use like after the arrived items. We can check the quality. So this kind of products, you have to write down the conditions of yours. Very specific needs have to write down before you make a contract.
Okay.
Depends
And
on the products.
are there third-party quality control companies in South Korea? Like, in China, there are so many third-party inspection companies like VTrust and Kima. Are there similar third-party inspection companies in South Korea?
Yes, I know about them. They are global companies, so they also have branch offices in Korea, Bureau Veritas and the other some blah blah blah. They also have in branch office in Korea also, but I heard about that the cost is very not that cheap. So usually, if you have agencies or you know some staff in Korea, usually I think in real situation, this kind of things is more possible ways to check the control qualities.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's keep moving here. So let's go to step 4, which is logistics and customs and tax issues.
Okay. Logistics and customs. I think tax issues. Right now I'm using logistics partner, and they doing one-stop service, like whole services. One company offer me a service, so this kind of company also doing the whole things for the logistic, customs, tax things. So the solution one, your suppliers already have their own logistics partners in Korea. I mean, if your suppliers can export items before very often, and they already have logistics partners in Korea and all over the world. Usually these kind of things like logistics companies, they have a lot of partners all over the world. So if your supplier already have logistics partners, you don't have to find out any other logistics partners in Korea. They will handle it for you instead of you. So you don't have to think about this. And the second solution, if you find the appropriate trade partners, I mean the agencies recently they have offer you a whole service for the export import. So from select product to logistics, they all can offer you a logistics service also. So this way is also very useful. And the solution, third one is you can find logistics in your areas. Yes, I strongly recommend these ways. This way is you easily control the logistics. In your local market, you can search very easily in Google or search engines, logistic company, and you can find out tons of researches, and you can reach them and check the cost for the logistics from Korea. As I mentioned before, logistics companies, they have thousands of partners in all over the world. So I prefer these ways to handle the logistic problems. Yes, tax issue, they will help you to do this. So step 4, among these, I strongly recommend the solution number 3. Is better way to know well and control lead times, or why is delayed. If your product is delayed, then you can find out the way why is delayed, or when I cannot set the products, these kind of things. And I think your local partner is better. Yes, easy to communicate is the best way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to stop sharing screen and let's see if there are any questions from anybody. So let us know if you have any questions in the Q&A box. Please type your questions in the Q&A box. So, okay, we have a question from Mamdou Hussein Abbas. He says, I'm an importer of brake lining, clutch discs, clutch cover. I cannot reach factories. Always I find companies, as in, I think he finds trading companies. So I want to chat with factories directly. How can he do that? How can he find factories directly and not trading companies?
It's a little bit hard because especially these kind of products, Korea is very famous all over the world. But these kind of companies have one situation in Korea, because Korea have 2 or 3 very many car makers, Hyundai, Kia, Sangyong. So they only make for this kind of car makers. So they not allowed to export sometimes. They only can provide products to Hyundai, Kia. They make contract. So this kind of brake lining, clutch disc, clutch cover will be very small company. Big company already make contract with Hyundai, Kia. So the last of them might be their small company. So they don't need to doing overseas sales. So might be they don't have like can speak English or not doing advertisements for the sales. So it's very hard to find out.
Right. And so Mamdo is saying that trade offices increase the price to find profit because I think trading companies will add price to the product. And so it makes it more difficult.
Yes, I understand this. But if you cannot speak Korean or you don't know where for about Korea market, Korea companies, then the possibility is too low. Because
is there a possibility to hire someone in Korea to represent them, and then a Korean person, of course, who speaks Korean and who understands the market, and then maybe this person can go and find factories for the buyer? Like, is that a possibility? Maybe a freelancer or someone.
Kind of person work, kind of company called like trade office, and then Mamdu doesn't want to do a business through this kind of person. So the problem is here. Like,
no, but are there, like in China, they're sourcing agents. So they're not trading companies, they're sourcing agents. And you can basically give them a commission or maybe a fixed fee, like, whatever, $1,000 a month, and you manage my quality, you find suppliers for me and everything. So, and I want to work directly with the factories, like a sourcing agent, not exactly a trading company, but, and Ben Sia is also asking the same question.
Oh, in Korea, I mean, the trade offices mean doing this kind of all kind of services that all they have. If you want just use like agencies, like you can discuss with them, like how can share the profits or just by percentage or add some amounts. You can talk with them, discuss. So, or sometimes you are not needed to source items regularly, like per month. This kind, like you mentioned, like per month, $3,000 by person. If don't need to source items next month, you also have to pay. Is also not a good way to hire.
But what about a sourcing agent that charges, a percentage of the order value? Like in China, that's very common. You hire a sourcing agent and then they charge like 3% or something of the order value.
I think it's higher cost to comparison with China, because China have thousands of factories and a lot of manufacturers in China, but Korea is not that much compared with China market. So of course the trade agency or sourcing companies, sourcing offices is smaller than China. So their cost also higher than China.
How much do they charge generally? Like, do they charge a percentage?
I don't know. It depends on the company.
Okay. So Mamdu is also asking, how can I reach a good trade office?
Okay. Just you can check the solution for the when I mentioned like first where is he from? In India? From India?
Where
Egypt.
are you from? No,
Egypt
probably
also
not.
have Korea.
Egypt, yeah.
Kotra. They also have branch offices in Egypt. You can contact with them first, and you can get more information about your industries and your suppliers' information from them.
Right.
The first way is make contact with Kotra. They already have branch offices in Egypt. I'm sure about that. And the second one is Google. You can see a lot of research in Google, Korean companies. You put the keyword like your products and back it there, like write down the Korea brake lining company, and you can see the result I made before already. And
Yeah,
how about
he's
the
done it
result?
already. Yeah, that's the problem. I think he has not been able to find good companies. That's why he's asking.
Then
for-
try the contact with Kotra.
So Kotra in Egypt, maybe try to contact Kotra in Egypt and see if they're able to help you. Trade office not clear. Okay, maybe Mamdo, you can contact MJ directly after the call. You can send him an email
Yes, yes.
and see if MJ
I can check for
can
you.
help you. Yeah. So let's take a couple of more questions and then we'll start wrapping up. So Alex is saying how to trade with other companies in South Korea with low percentage but good profits with your products.
It's hard. Trade with other companies. Basically, Korean products price is higher than Chinese because Korean labor wage is higher than China right now, and doesn't have that much like factories in Korea, not that much. So basically the price is higher than Chinese. This is the point. And low percentage. It depends on how you can negotiate with the company. If your sourcing items, the amount is very big, and you can get on better conditions. So I think is very range is too big. It depends on your situation. So
right. And maybe if the product is premium, like I know South Korea cosmetics are so popular in so many countries and they are considered very premium products. So you can charge a higher price for them actually. Like if anybody sees South Korea cosmetics, they will know that, you know, it is a good quality product and they'll be willing to pay a higher price for that.
Because recently Chinese factory, they're making skills is very good, and in Korean suppliers in their site, if their quality is same, they have no competitive with than Chinese factories. So if their products is not that good enough and they don't manufacturing anymore, they are drop that product and develop another level products, premium line, or better than before model version of the products. So if they are doing exports already, their quality is, I think, is better because standard quality is cannot beat with Chinese factories.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, MJ, for your time today. So let's just first of all see MJ's contact details. So can we share the slide, please, so that everyone can just take note of MJ's contact details. And also you will see Global Sources Match QR code. So in case you want to check out Global Sources Match service, which is free, you should be able to do that. So can we have the slide, please? Let's just give them a couple of seconds. There we go. There we go. So that is MJ's contact information. And you can also see the Global Sources Match QR code and the URL. So you can just take a picture of this slide for quick reference later. Contact MJ directly if you have any questions and if you need any help. And MJ, do you do sourcing as well? Do you help people source? Like, do you have a sourcing agency or a trade company or something?
Before I helped my Canadian partner to distribute their brands in Korean market. Also helped Chinese very big company. I did a sourcing company for them. So if you need anything, feel free to contact me, and if I can help you, and then help you to find some resources or solutions, not just
Okay, brilliant.
payment.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, MJ used to work for Global Sources for
Yes.
almost 3 years. So yeah, you understand the export market and you know how to find suppliers. So
Yes.
that is definitely a big advantage. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, MJ, for joining us today and sharing all of this great information. Really, really appreciate you sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you.
And everybody over here, thank you very much for joining us on this webinar. And we will see you next month for another Global Sources Match live webinar. Take care, everyone. Bye.